Hello. This week we'll be discussing technology and media for teaching and learning. So here's a brief overview of what we'll be discussing. Okay, we'll start off with the pedagogical differences between the media and technology examples that we talked about. We'll talk about sections framework. Then we'll be talking about the digital tools for creating content. So, the three tools that we'll be talking about this week will be Google Classroom, Nearpod, and ThingLink. So the different learning theories, we talked about learning theories a couple weeks ago, but we're going to apply them to different digital tools this week. So the three that we're going to talk about, I just mentioned. So the first one, Google Classroom. Many of us are aware or kind of know about what Google Classroom is. It exhibits parts of constructivism and parts of behaviorism. Okay, it exposes our students similar to what a classroom is, while also trying to teach our students memorization. Okay, next, Nearpod. Nearpod shows cognitivism. So, trying to use different learning methods or teaching methods that we try to meet all our learners' needs with. Then sociocultural. So we did not talk about sociocultural a couple weeks ago, but sociocultural is uh, trying to expose our students to social things, cultural environments, and implementing that into our instructional in our learning theories. So Nearpod encourages sociocultural through different learning strategies. Next, ThingLink. So ThingLink is a virtual reality. So it also implements sociocultural and then also implements constructivism by implementing the environment to our students and to our lessons. So next thing we're going to talk about is technological affordances. So here's a brief different definition of technological affordances. So a technological affordance is the unique characteristics or the possibilities that technology can provide their audience. So, you know, technology and learning management systems, they all have their own differences. They all have their own characteristics that we can use in our classroom or in our program. So, uh, the three that we mentioned, we're going to compare them to each other. So, Google Classroom, it offers a streamlined assignment management. So the teacher can manage the assignments and we can provide them all to the class at once if we want to. Next, it provides digital feedback. We are able to provide our students, or it can automatically provide the students feedback. Some learners like to have feedback, so that is what it can provide. Next, it provides efficient time workflow. So many of us, when we're using paper and pencil, we are having to go through each assignment one by one. Uh, if we're using something like Google Forms and Google Classroom, it is able to auto grade that and it saves some time. Next, Nearpod. So Nearpod, I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but it offers a variety of learning games. So we can offer interactive learning games. It can offer them time to do a writing assignment. So different learning strategies. Next, it provides real-time feedback. Okay, some of our students want feedback right when they turn the assignment in. It can do that through artificial intelligence. Next, it provides video based learning and content based delivery. So it provides different learning strategies through different technological methods. Okay, so the next app is ThingLink. So ThingLink offers a 360 virtual reality view. Students can use this app to turn all around. It can be used on various devices. So it can be used on smartphones. It can be used on uh, computers. It can be used on multiple different computers. It's not bound to just one device. Next, it provides multimedia interactive learning. So our students are able to interact with each other. They are also able to use it through multimedia voice, videos, and so on. So next, we're going to talk about different instructional benefits. So as a teacher, I wanted to know, what does this have for me? Not just technological wise, but how can this help me instruction wise? So Google Classroom, it provides a variety of assessment formats. We can use it. Hey, let's make our students write a paper. Let's make them do something through Google Forms. Okay, we are able to assess it in multiple ways. Next, provides blended learning. Our students are able to do multiple learning strategies together. Okay, we're not just bound to one with this one app. Next, it can provide personalized learning. We can provide pre-tests to see where's every one of our students at. Okay, and then we can assign certain assignments to certain students if they need help if they're learning at a different pace or a different level, and we can encourage scaffolding. Okay, next, our next app, Nearpod. Okay, we can provide two different learning times. Okay, we can provide self-paced learning or live learning. So synchronous or asynchronous. Okay, so some of our students are going to be on a time limit. Some of our students want to learn are an in-classroom or in-person learner. So we can use that. Next, it provides formative and summative assessments. All right, so let's use a formative assessment to see where our students are at. Let's use a matching game, or let's use a brief assignment uh, in this lesson. See where our students are at right now. See what do I need to reflect on in our next lesson, and so on. Then we provide a summative assessment, and that can vary in different ways depending on the instructor. So, and then finally, it creates a post session learning report. I know some administrators want to have a report to know how is this teacher's lesson going. Also, you yourself as an instructor may want to see that, analyze that report to see, all right, did my lesson go good, bad? What assignments worked? What didn't go? What went well? What did not go well? And so I can reflect on it, or uh, see, all right, which learners doing these assignments? What learners are having trouble, and so on. What strategies do I need to change? Next, ThingLink. It can be used with diverse learners. So if we know not all our students have the same learning needs, some of us, remember, we have our visual learners, kinesthetic, so on. And some of our students have needs and we need to provide accommodations. ThingLink can provide that. Uh, it, I feel like I'm an experiential learner, or a project. Y'all know that. So I would like to see something in person. I think virtual reality would provide that. Next, it promotes interactive learning for group projects. Okay, our students are not individualized learners all the time. They can interact with each other, and sometimes as teachers, we like to implement group learning so that our students can learn how to socially interact. ThingLink can provide this. We can integrate this app with our learning management system. So for example, if we're using Canva, if we're using Google Classroom, we can provide this link and integrate this with this program with the platform that with our school or our university is using. So all right, that's different instructional benefits that we discussed. Each three of them have their own characteristics. They have their pros and their cons that we can use, and we can go on forever. So the next thing that we'll be discussing is our sections model that we talked about this week. So this is an acronym. So S stands for students. What audience are we trying to reach? What the demographics are? The ease of use. how easy is this to use for the instructor or the learner as well? How are students going to how are they going to accept this or deny this, so on? Okay, the cost. How much am I going to have to pay for this? How much is my school going to have to pay for it? That's usually the first question that administrators or school districts ask. Okay, if they have to pay $100 per student, they're not going to accept that. Next, teaching functions. What are different technological affordances? And we talked that a minute ago that I can use with this platform. Interaction. So, are my students going to be able to interact with each other? Are they going to be able to interact with me, or is it just a one-on-one basis? Next, organizational issues. Does your institution support this technology? Yes or no? Networking. So, am I going to be able to network with other experts, with other teachers outside of my school district? Okay. And finally, that leads to security and privacy. Is this a safe technology for the student and teacher to use? All right. It, or is this going to be publicly advertised? So, let's move to our example. So, Google Classroom, I use this in the school that I was previously teaching at. Number one, I would like to tell you that we were a Google friendly school. So, what I'm talking about, I will talk about both the public and a Google friendly school perspective. So, the students of all demographics can use Google. Uh, you can create a public person. So if you have a Gmail account, you can create you a Google Classroom, and we'll talk about that more later. But mainly, Google friendly schools have to use Google Classroom, and we'll talk about what a Google friendly school costs. Okay, so ease of use. As an instructor that is not the most technological friendly. I'm not technology friendly. This is easy for both teachers and students to use. I was born and raised on Microsoft, PowerPoint, Word, and Sheets. So this can compare to different Microsoft uh, applications. So Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so on. We can apply these or adapt these to Microsoft files. So that can help if we are sending these to a non Google user. Okay, so next, cost. So there are different levels of membership for Google Classroom. If you are a free user, you're not going to have apps access to all of the Google apps. Well, you may just be able to use form, words, and sheets if you are a free user. However, if your school district wants to be a Google friendly school district, they will have to pay $5 per student using, okay? And therefore, all students will have to have a Gmail account, all this, but they will have access to more Google apps that they can integrate into their Google Classroom. I remember as a teacher, we had to ask our technology school district director, we had to ask them permission to integrate an app and they would approve it or deny it. But that would be a common thing that we would have to implement. Is this app that you want to integrate into your classroom, is it Google friendly? And as I'm researching more and more digital apps, okay, I'm seeing, all right, is this Google friendly or not Google friendly? So moving on to our next letter, T. So teaching function. This varies per subscription. Excuse me. This can be used for digital take-home assignments. But however, I do want to mention that this can be hard for our remote learners that have limited access to the internet. I taught in a rural school district, so we had to keep this in mind when we said, all right, this is an assignment that is due tomorrow. Well, are our students going to have access to this uh, tonight, this program tonight? That's just an example I'm going to use. But so we had to be kind of friendly with or kind of keep that in mind with our students. So time efficiency. Also, we can use this on smartphones. Many of our students, if you're a high school age student, are going to have smartphones. Also, I do know that the elementary school did implement Google Classroom. However, the elementary school district did not let the students take home their Chromebooks. So that's something that another teacher might have to keep in mind. Interaction. So this can vary teacher to teacher. The teacher can provide access to all or certain students. So what this means is certain students can be limited to this assignment, or all students can see this assignment, or we may make certain classrooms for certain students. If we may say, all right, I want these students to have a certain tutorial, I may give 5 students access to this tutorial so that they can see this. Next, organizational issues. So this can be used publicly, but with limited access. My former school district used this, okay? Meaning, uh, it depends if your school district uses this or implements this or not. Um, toward the last year, my with my last school district, they said, okay, the only people that you can implement into your Google Classroom need to have this school district account. So email account. So if they were not with the school district, if they were not a student, or if they were not a teacher, they could not have access to this Google Classroom. I know in public, if we were using it in public setting, we could say, all right, here's the code. But it can be used publicly. We need to keep that in mind. Networking. Yes, we can use this to network. I was part of an ag teachers organization where we use this on a Google Drive mainly, but however, we also used a Google Classroom to create classrooms that you can join. Our school district said, all right, the administrator had a certain classroom where all the faculty had to join so that we could keep up with different announcements, maybe weekly announcements and so on. But we can use these for professional development opportunities. If somebody wants to share a lesson plan or so on, they can use that. Next, security and privacy. I know I've mentioned some of this, but security and privacy are a big thing that school districts might keep in mind. So a student has to receive a code. I have to if I want to Johnny Joe to join this classroom, I have to get John Doe the invite code. All right, or Mr. Johnny has to send an invitation to the instructor has to send the invitation to that student to join. So there is limited access. I did mention that certain school districts do have different rules to where only certain users can. So I was in a Jones County school district. I could not. I could only allow Jones County users to join. They must have a Jones County email in order for them to use that Google Classroom. So those are just some things to keep in mind. The section model is a great thing to keep in mind when determining, do I want to use this program or not? Okay, that's what I would think about that. And number one thing I would think about would be cost. Okay, and is it student friendly? Is it teacher friendly? All right, so moving on. So before we conclude this lesson, I have 2 things I want to ask you, and you can include this on your discussion board post as well. So, what are some specific technology affordances that we should look for in future learning tools? So, there are new apps coming out every day, but what are some things that we need to keep in mind when we look at these, when we examine these? I realize that all of us are different levels of instructors, so that may be the answers are going to vary, but those are great things that I want to see. Next, as digital learning grows, how can we implement multiple learning strategies to accommodate all of our students? So many students we have different types of learners: kinesthetic, visual, uh, and auditory. Different students are different learners. And some of these we have to make accommodations for. What are some things that we can do in our learning management system or in our apps to accommodate all of our students rather than having to run 10 different apps in our classroom. Uh, I know that things can be frustrating as a teacher. Our school district was implementing 3 or 4 apps. How can we implement this into just one app to save time and limit stress on our teachers? I want to know your feedback. That would be great. Uh, Please leave an answer in the discussion post for me. Okay, now we're going to conclude and wrap this up. So today, remember, we have recognized how a few digital learning, we recognized a few digital learning applications and how they can differ. Next, we discussed what a technology affordance is. So remember, we talked about what are the different characteristics each app can provide. Next, instructional benefits. So, what are things that teachers keep in mind? So, what type of learning methods, teaching methods as well, do these programs offer? And then finally, we wrapped it up with a sections model. Remember the students, the ease of use, the cost, the teaching methods, teaching functions as well, the instructions, okay, organizations, and so on. So we discussed this model, and this is something we need to enforce. Okay, finally, I have my references for you. All right, if you have any questions, please leave them in the discussion post. I look forward to seeing your videos as well. Have a great week, um, and good luck throughout the rest of this semester.